Millionaire CEO discovers little girl sleeping outside his home. His reaction left everyone stunned. Before we jump in, this story reached people in over 50 countries last week. Let's see how far it goes today. The October rain hammered against the windshield as Marcus Sterling's black Mercedes pulled through the iron gates of his Beacon Hill estate. At 45, he was Boston's most ruthless CEO, a man who crushed competitors before breakfast and closed million-dollar deals while others slept. Tonight's board meeting had run until midnight, another victory in his relentless pursuit of power. But as his headlights swept across the circular driveway, something made him slam the brakes. A small figure huddled against his front gate, motionless, in the downpour. Marcus stepped out, his Italian leather shoes splashing through puddles. As he approached, his breath caught. It was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, soaking wet and shivering in a torn pink jacket. Her dark hair clung to her pale face, and she clutched something tightly in her small fists. "Hey there," Marcus said softly, kneeling beside her. "What are you doing out here, sweetheart?" The child stirred, revealing huge brown eyes that seemed far too old for her face. She looked up at Marcus with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "Are you Marcus Sterling?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. Something cold gripped Marcus's chest. "Yes, I am. How do you know my name?" Instead of answering, the girl slowly opened her tiny hands, revealing a crumpled, water-stained photograph. Marcus took it with trembling fingers, and his world tilted on its axis. It was Sarah, his Sarah, the woman he'd loved and lost 4 years ago, smiling at the camera with that radiant expression he'd never been able to forget. "Where did you get this?" Marcus demanded, his voice barely controlled. "From Mommy," the girl said simply. "She said you're my daddy." The photograph slipped from Marcus's fingers, fluttering to the wet pavement. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. 4 years ago, the fight that had destroyed everything. "You're suffocating me, Marcus," Sarah had screamed, tears streaming down her face. "I can't be the perfect corporate wife you want. I won't be another one of your acquisitions." "Then get out," he'd roared back, his pride wounded and his heart breaking. "If I'm so terrible, leave. I never want to see you again." Sarah had stared at him for a long moment, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach, a gesture he'd been too angry to notice at the time. "Fine," she'd whispered. "You'll get your wish." She'd walked out that night, and Marcus had been too stubborn to go after her, too proud to admit he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. Now, looking down at this shivering child, his child, Marcus felt the weight of those lost years crushing down on him. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently. "Lily," she said, struggling to stand on unsteady legs. "Lily Sterling. Mommy said that's my real name, even though we had to use different ones." Marcus scooped her up in his arms, feeling how light and fragile she was. "Where's your mother, Lily? Where's Sarah?" The little girl's eyes filled with tears that had nothing to do with the rain. "She went to get medicine 3 months ago," Lily whispered against his shoulder. "She said she'd be right back, but she never came home. I waited and waited, but she never came back." Marcus felt his heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. Sarah was gone, and this precious little girl, his daughter, had been alone for 3 months. As he carried Lily toward his mansion, one terrible question echoed in his mind. What had happened to Sarah, and why had she never told him he had a daughter? The front door closed behind them with a soft click, sealing them both inside a house that had been empty for far too long. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a mystery that would turn his entire world upside down. Marcus set Lily down gently in his marble foyer, watching as she stared wide-eyed at the crystal chandelier above. The opulent mansion that had once symbolized his success now felt cold and unwelcoming through a child's eyes. "Are you hungry, sweetheart?" he asked, his voice softer than it had been in years. Lily nodded timidly, still clutching the damp photograph of her mother. Marcus led her to his pristine kitchen where everything was chrome and granite, beautiful but sterile. He opened the refrigerator, realizing with horror that it contained nothing but takeout containers and energy drinks. "How about some scrambled eggs?" he offered, finding eggs tucked behind a bottle of champagne. As Marcus cooked, something he hadn't done since Sarah left, Lily sat perched on a bar stool swinging her legs. She was so small, so fragile, and the weight of responsibility hit him like a freight train. "Lily," he said carefully, setting a plate before her, "tell me about where you and Mommy lived." "Different places," she said, picking at her eggs. "We never stayed long. Mommy always looked over her shoulder when we walked outside. She said, we had to be careful of bad people." Marcus's jaw tightened. Bad people? What had Sarah been running from? By dawn, Marcus had transformed his guest room into something resembling a child's bedroom, using Amazon's same-day delivery for everything, from princess sheets to stuffed animals. He'd also hired Mrs. Rodriguez, a warm-hearted nanny who arrived with recommendations and a motherly smile that immediately put Lily at ease. But the nights were different. The first nightmare came at 2 a.m. Lily's screams echoed through the house as she thrashed in her bed crying for her mother. Marcus rushed in, gathering her trembling form against his chest. "Shh, you're safe now," he whispered, stroking her hair. "Daddy's here." "The scary man was chasing us again," Lily sobbed. "Mommy was so scared she kept looking back and running faster." "What scary man, sweetheart?" But Lily had already fallen back into exhausted sleep, leaving Marcus with more questions than answers. The next morning, while Lily played with her new toys, Marcus made the call he'd been dreading. He dialed James Murphy, the best private investigator money could buy. "I need you to find someone," Marcus said, pacing his study. "Sarah Chen. She disappeared 3 months ago, left behind a 6-year-old daughter." "Any leads?" Murphy's gravelly voice crackled through the phone. "She was running from something, or someone." Marcus stared out the window where Lily was drawing, with chalk on his pristine driveway, bringing life to a space that had been dead for years. "And James? I want to know everything about her last 4 years. Every place she lived, every person she met." That afternoon, Marcus's carefully ordered world received another shock. His secretary buzzed the intercom. "Mr. Sterling, your brother Dylan is here to see you." Dylan Sterling walked into Marcus's home office with that familiar swagger, his boyish features arranged in a concerned expression. At 38, Dylan had always lived in Marcus's shadow, the younger brother who'd never quite measured up in their father's eyes. "Marcus, I heard the strangest rumor," Dylan said, settling into the leather chair across from Marcus's desk. "Something about you suddenly becoming a father?" "Where did you hear that?" "Word travels fast in our circles." Dylan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Is it true? Did Sarah finally come crawling back?" Something in Dylan's tone made Marcus's skin crawl. "Sarah didn't come back. She left our daughter on my doorstep and disappeared." Dylan leaned forward, and for just a moment, Marcus caught something dangerous flickering in his brother's eyes. "Sarah's missing? That's terrible. Have you called the police?" "I've hired a private investigator." "Smart move." Dylan stood to leave, but paused at the door. "You know, Marcus, I always wondered what happened to Sarah after your big fight. Such a beautiful woman, such a waste that you let her slip away." After Dylan left, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. His brother's reaction had been off, too interested, too knowing. That evening, as he tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at him with those impossibly wise eyes. "Daddy, the scary man in my dreams. He looks like you, but younger. And his eyes are mean." Marcus felt ice water flood his veins. A man who looked like him, but younger? As Lily drifted off to sleep, Marcus sat in his study staring at his phone. Dylan's words echoed in his mind. "Such a beautiful woman. Such a waste that you let her slip away." How did Dylan know so much about Sarah? And why had he seemed almost pleased to hear she was missing? For the first time since Sarah had walked out 4 years ago, Marcus wondered if his brother's jealousy had run deeper than sibling rivalry. Much deeper. 3 weeks into fatherhood, Marcus Sterling was learning that CEOs and 6-year-olds operated on completely different schedules. "Daddy, you're holding the crayon wrong," Lily giggled, her small hand guiding his as they colored at his massive dining table, now covered in art supplies instead of business documents. Marcus looked down at his crude attempt at a purple flower and laughed, a sound he hadn't made in years. "I think you're the artist in this family, sweetheart." Lily beamed, and Marcus felt something warm unfurl in his chest. Each day, she emerged a little more from her shell, like a flower blooming, in slow motion. "Can you teach me how to braid my hair?" she asked suddenly, tugging at her tangled locks. Marcus stared at her, panic setting in. I don't know how to braid hair, Lily. Mommy always did it. She said pretty hair helps us blend in better." Lily's face fell slightly. "I guess I'll just look messy." "No," Marcus said firmly, pulling out his phone. "We're going to learn together." For the next hour, Marcus Sterling, the man who commanded boardrooms, watched YouTube tutorials while Lily sat patiently as he fumbled through her silky hair. His first attempt was disastrous, his second, slightly better. "There," he said finally, admiring his crooked but functional braid. "What do you think?" Lily ran to the hallway mirror and gasped with delight. "Daddy, you did it." She threw her arms around his waist. "You're getting really good at daddy things." That evening, as they shared pizza on the floor of his living room, something that would have horrified him months ago, Lily grew quiet. "Daddy, why did Mommy always say we had to use different names?" Marcus set down his slice, choosing his words carefully. "What kind of names?" "In Chicago, I was Emma. In Denver, I was Sophie. Mommy was always different too, sometimes Anna, sometimes Beth." Lily picked at her pizza. She said it was like a game, but she always looked scared when she heard footsteps, behind us. Marcus's blood ran cold. Sarah had been running for years, changing identities, terrified of something, or someone. "Did your mommy ever mention anyone specific she was afraid of?" Lily nodded solemnly. "She had nightmares sometimes. She'd wake up crying and say, 'Dylan, please leave us alone.' I asked who Dylan was, but she always changed the subject." The pizza turned to ash in Marcus's mouth. Dylan. His brother's name had haunted Sarah's dreams, had driven her to live like a fugitive with their daughter. "Lily," Marcus said gently, "did you ever see this Dylan?" "Once. In San Francisco. Mommy saw a man across the street and grabbed me so tight it hurt. She whispered, 'He found us again, and we left that night. We had to leave all my toys behind.'" Marcus pulled Lily onto his lap, his heart breaking for all the fear this little girl had endured. "You don't have to be scared anymore, sweetheart. I promise you're safe now." But even as he made that promise, Marcus knew the truth was far more dangerous than he'd imagined. Dylan hadn't just been jealous. He'd been hunting Sarah and Lily for years. The question that terrified him most: what had Dylan planned to do if he'd caught them? Marcus had restructured his entire life around Lily's schedule. Board meetings were moved to nap time. Conference calls happened during her art sessions, and his home office door stayed open so he could hear her every laugh echoing through the halls. "Daddy, look," Lily called from the living room floor, where she sat surrounded by puzzle pieces. Marcus glanced up from his laptop to see her assembling a 1,000-piece jigsaw with startling precision. "How are you doing that so fast?" he asked, amazed as she snapped pieces together with mathematical accuracy. "Mommy taught me. She said puzzles help you see patterns that other people miss." Lily's small fingers worked methodically. She was really good at finding things that didn't belong. Marcus walked over and knelt beside her, watching in wonder as she completed entire sections in minutes. This wasn't just intelligence. This was genius-level pattern recognition. "We played lots of puzzle games when we had to hide," Lily continued, casually. "Mommy would show me pictures of places and people, and I had to remember everything about them. She said it might save our lives someday." The weight of those words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Sarah had been training their daughter to survive. That afternoon, while Lily napped, Marcus called James Murphy for an update. "I've got something." Murphy's gravelly voice came through the phone. Sarah Chen was spotted at St. Catherine's Shelter, downtown about 4 months ago. She was using the name Anna Martinez. 4 months ago? That's right before she disappeared. There's more. The shelter director remembers her because she seemed absolutely terrified. Wouldn't give any real details about her situation. Just kept asking if they could help her find someone important. Someone she needed to make things right with. Marcus's pulse quickened. She was looking for me. Looks that way. She left something. Behind, a letter. The director's been holding on to it. 20 minutes later, Marcus stood in the modest office of St. Catherine's Shelter, his hands trembling as he opened the envelope bearing Sarah's familiar handwriting. The letter was dated just 2 days before she disappeared. Marcus, if something happens to me, please know that I tried to come back. I tried to bring our daughter home to you. I know you probably hate me for keeping Lily from you, but I was so scared. Dylan has been following us for years. I thought I could outrun him forever, but I can't anymore. Lily deserves to know her father. She deserves the safety I can't give. I'm sorry for everything. I never stopped loving you. Sarah. Marcus read the letter 3 times, each word burning into his memory. Sarah had been coming back to him. After all these years, she'd been trying to bring their daughter home. Mr. Sterling? The shelter director's voice seemed to come from far away. Are you all right? Marcus looked up, his vision blurred. The woman who left this, Anna Martinez, what happened to her? She left that night and never came back. We found her bed empty the next morning. She'd been planning to stay longer, but something spooked her. As Marcus drove home, Sarah's words echoed in his mind. Dylan has been following us for years. His brother hadn't just known about Sarah's disappearance, he'd been the cause of it. Dylan had been hunting his own family like prey. When Marcus arrived home, he found Lily in his study, having completed her puzzle. But instead of a pastoral scene, she'd created something that made his blood freeze. It was a perfect recreation of his family photo, but she'd rearranged the pieces to show a dark figure lurking in the background watching them. I found the hidden picture, Daddy, Lily said proudly, just like Mommy taught me. The next few days passed in a fragile bubble of normalcy. Marcus threw himself into fatherhood with the same intensity he'd once reserved for hostile takeovers, but now every laugh from Lily felt like a small miracle. Higher, Daddy, higher, Lily squealed from the swing set Marcus had installed in his backyard, the first playground equipment to ever grace the pristine landscape. Marcus pushed her gently, watching her dark hair stream behind her like silk. Hold on tight, sweetheart. But as Lily pumped her legs to swing higher, the old chain snapped. She tumbled to the ground with a cry that pierced Marcus's heart. Lily. He rushed to her side, where she sat clutching her scraped knee, tears streaming down her face. It hurts. Daddy, she sobbed. Marcus gathered her into his arms, carrying her inside to clean the wound. As he gently applied antiseptic, Lily looked up at him with those impossibly trusting eyes. The other daddies always left when I got hurt, she whispered. Marcus's hands stilled. Other daddies? Mommy had boyfriends sometimes. They liked her, but they didn't like me much. When I cried or needed things, they would get mad and leave. Lily's voice was matter-of-fact, but Marcus heard the pain underneath. You're not going to leave too, are you? The question hit Marcus like a sledgehammer. This little girl had been abandoned over and over, had learned not to expect permanence from the men in her life. Lily, look at me, Marcus said firmly, cupping her small face in his hands. I am your father, not a boyfriend, not someone passing through. Your daddy, and daddies don't leave their little girls, ever. Promise? I promise. You're stuck with me forever, whether you like it or not. For the first time, Lily smiled through her tears. I like it, Daddy. The word sent warmth flooding through Marcus's chest. She'd called him Daddy before, but this time felt different. Chosen, not just repeated. That evening, as they shared ice cream on the couch, James Murphy called with an update. Your Sarah was smart, Murphy said. I've tracked her movements over the past 4 years. She never stayed anywhere longer than 6 months, always paid cash, always had exit strategies planned. Exit strategies? Multiple aliases, backup apartments, go bags packed and ready. This woman was running a professional-level evasion operation. Murphy paused. But here's the interesting part. Every time she moved, it was within days of someone asking questions about her. Marcus felt ice forming in his stomach. What kind of someone? Private investigators. Always the same firm, Blackwater Securities. They'd show up, ask around about a woman with a little girl, and within 48 hours, Sarah would vanish. Marcus knew that name. Blackwater Securities was Dylan's preferred investigative firm. He'd used them for corporate espionage for years. Mr. Sterling, you still there? Yeah, Marcus managed. Keep digging, Murphy. I need to know everything. After hanging up, Marcus stared out at his backyard where Lily's broken swing moved gently in the evening breeze. Dylan hadn't just been following them. He'd been systematically hunting them, forcing Sarah to live like a criminal for 4 years. The question that haunted Marcus was simple. Why? 40 miles across the city in the sterile corridors of St. Mary's Hospital, a woman sat by the window of room 314, her fingers moving frantically across paper. The nurses called her Anna, the name found on a fake ID in her purse after the accident 4 months ago. But Anna didn't feel like her name. Good morning, Anna, Dr. Patricia Reeves said gently, entering the room with her clipboard. How did you sleep? The woman looked up with hollow eyes that had once been bright with life. Her auburn hair hung limp around her shoulders, and her face bore the gaunt look of someone who'd forgotten how to truly rest. The dreams came again, she whispered, her voice hoarse from screaming herself awake. They were chasing me. I was running. But my legs wouldn't move fast enough. And there was crying. A little girl crying for me. Dr. Reeves glanced at the scattered drawings covering Anna's bedside table. They were always the same. A tall man in a business suit with kind eyes, and a small girl with dark hair and a heartbreaking smile. Anna drew them obsessively, as if trying to pull them from the fog of her damaged memory. Do you remember anything new about these people? Dr. Reeves asked, picking up one of the sketches. Anna's hand trembled as she reached for the drawing. He feels safe. When I draw him, my heart doesn't race, but I don't know why. She touched the child's face on the paper. This little girl, she's important. More important than breathing. But I can't remember her name. The psychiatric evaluation had been clear. Severe post-traumatic amnesia resulting from the car accident that had brought her to the hospital. No family had claimed her. No missing person reports matched her description. Ana Martinez existed, only on paper, a ghost with no past. The medications are helping with the anxiety, Dr. Reeves noted, checking Anna's chart. But forcing the memories won't work. Your mind blocked them for a reason. Because I was scared? Anna said suddenly, her voice gaining strength. I remember being scared all the time, looking over my shoulder, checking locks twice, counting, escape routes. She pressed her palms against her temples. But scared of what? Or who? Dr. Reeves had seen many trauma patients, but Anna's case was unique. Most amnesia victims forgot random details. Anna seemed to have forgotten everything except fear itself. There's something else, Anna continued, pulling out her newest drawing. This one was different, darker. It showed the same tall man, but standing behind him was a shadowy figure with cruel eyes. This man in the shadows. When I draw him, I feel sick. My hands shake and I can't breathe. Have you seen this person before? In nightmares. He's always chasing us, me and the little girl. We're running through dark streets and he's getting closer. Anna's breathing quickened. He says terrible things. That he'll never let us go. That we belong to him. Dr. Reeves made a note to increase Anna's anti-anxiety medication. These weren't just dreams. They felt like suppressed memories trying to surface. That night, alone in her hospital room, Anna sat by the window and whispered to her reflection, Marcus. The name had slipped out unbidden, like a prayer. She didn't know where it came from, but it felt right on her tongue. It felt like home. She picked up her pencil and began to draw again, but this time something was different. Instead of the usual portraits, her hand moved on its own, sketching a grand staircase, a crystal chandelier, a little girl's bedroom with princess sheets. "I know this place," she breathed, staring at the drawing. "This is home. But whose home? And why did the memory of it make her want to cry?" Marcus stood in James Murphy's cramped office, staring at the evidence board covered in photographs, timelines, and red string connecting various locations across multiple states. 4 years of Sarah's life mapped out like a military operation. She was good, Murphy said, tapping a photo of a dingy motel in Phoenix. Changed her appearance, her mannerisms, even her handwriting. But she made one mistake. What mistake? Murphy handed Marcus a manila folder. She kept returning to the same type of places. Women's shelters, community centers, places that help people disappear. I contacted every shelter within a 50-mile radius of her last known location. Marcus opened the folder, his heart stopping at what he found inside. It was another letter, this one much longer, written in Sarah's careful script on shelter letterhead. St. Catherine's wasn't the only place. She left a message, Murphy explained. She left this at Grace House Shelter 3 weeks before she disappeared. The director there thought it might be important. Marcus's hands shook as he read. "To whoever finds this, if something happens to me, please know I tried to do the right thing. My name isn't Anna Martinez. It's Sarah Chen, and I've been running for 4 years with my daughter Lily from a man named Dylan Sterling. He's dangerous, obsessed, and he'll never stop hunting us. I've made a terrible mistake. I kept my daughter from her father because I was scared Dylan would use her to hurt him. But Lily deserves better than this life of fear. She deserves to know Marcus Sterling, her real father. I'm going to Boston to find him if Dylan catches me first. Please, please make sure Lily gets to Marcus. He'll protect her in ways I never could. He's a good man who made a mistake, but he's her daddy. I was wrong to run. I should have trusted Marcus to keep us safe. I pray I'm not too late to make this right. Sarah Chen, October 15th. Marcus read the letter 3 times, each word burning into his soul. Sarah hadn't just been coming back to him. She'd been trying to save their daughter from Dylan's obsession. October 15th, Marcus said quietly. She disappeared on October 18th. 3 days, Murphy confirmed. She almost made it home. Marcus felt rage building in his chest like a furnace. Dylan knew she was coming. He intercepted her somehow. There's more. Murphy pulled out a surveillance photo from a gas station camera. This was taken on October 17th, the night before Sarah disappeared. The grainy image showed Sarah at a payphone, and in the background, barely visible but unmistakably there, was a black sedan with tinted windows. License plate traces back to Blackwater Securities, Murphy said grimly. Your brother's dogs were already on her scent. Marcus studied his ex-wife's face in the photo. Even through the poor image quality, he could see her exhaustion, her fear, but also her determination. She'd been so close to bringing their daughter home. There's something else you need to see, Murphy said, his voice heavy with reluctance. He handed Marcus a hospital intake form. St. Mary's Hospital. They admitted a Jane Doe 4 months ago. Car accident victim with amnesia. Marcus's blood turned to ice as he read the description. Auburn hair, brown eyes, approximately 30 years. Old found with a fake ID for Anna Martinez. Murphy, Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible. Sarah's not dead. That's what I'm thinking. The accident happened 3 blocks from where that gas station photo was taken. Timeline fits perfectly. Marcus was already reaching for his coat. I have to go to her. Marcus, wait. If Sarah has amnesia, seeing you might be a shock to her system. We should... But Marcus was already out the door, running toward his car. Sarah was alive. Broken, lost, but alive. And for 4 months, she'd been alone in a hospital bed, not knowing who she was or that her daughter was safe. As he raced through Boston traffic, Marcus had one thought. Dylan had taken 4 years from them. He wouldn't take another day. Marcus burst through the doors of Sterling Industries like a man possessed, his expensive suit wrinkled from the frantic drive across town. Employees scattered as he stormed toward the executive elevator, his face a mask of barely controlled rage. Dylan's corner office occupied the entire 45th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Marcus found his brother casually reviewing contracts, looking every inch the successful businessman in his tailored navy suit. "Marcus," Dylan said without looking up, as if he'd been expecting this visit. "You look terrible. Fatherhood keeping. You up at nights? We need to talk. Now." Dylan finally raised his eyes, and Marcus saw something there that made his skin crawl, a cold satisfaction that had nothing to do with business success. "Of course. Close the door." Marcus slammed the door so hard the glass rattled. "I know what you did. I've done many things, brother. You'll have to be more specific." "Sarah. You've been hunting her for 4 years." Dylan's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. Then he smiled, an expression devoid of warmth or humanity. "Hunting is such a dramatic word. I prefer locating. You sick bastard. She was terrified of you. She lived like a fugitive because of you." Dylan stood slowly, moving to the window with his hands clasped behind his back. "Do you know what it was like, Marcus? Watching you have everything I wanted? The company, father's approval, and then Sarah." Marcus felt ice water flood his veins. "This is about Sarah? Beautiful, brilliant Sarah. I loved her first, you know. I saw her at that charity gala before you even noticed she existed." Dylan's voice took on a dreamy quality that made Marcus's stomach turn. "But she only had eyes for the golden boy, the successful older brother. You were obsessed with her." "Obsessed?" Dylan laughed bitterly. "I was devoted. When you threw her out like yesterday's garbage, I thought finally, I'd have my chance. I hired Blackwater to find her, to bring her home where she belonged. With you. Where she should have been all along." Dylan turned back to Marcus, his eyes blazing with years of suppressed rage and twisted love. "But Sarah was ungrateful. Every time I found her, she ran, like I was some kind of monster instead of the man who truly loved her." Marcus grabbed Dylan by the lapels, slamming him against the window. "You terrorized her! You made her life hell!" "I protected her," Dylan snarled back. "Do you think it was easy living on the run? Changing identities, sleeping in shelters? I could have given her everything. Luxury, stability, love. But she was too stubborn to see it. She was terrified of you. She was confused, brainwashed by your memory." Dylan's voice dropped to a whisper. "But I was patient. I knew eventually she'd understand that we belonged together. That little girl of yours needed a real father figure." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. "You wanted Lily too. She's part of Sarah. I would have loved her like my own." Marcus released Dylan so abruptly that his brother stumbled. The full scope of Dylan's delusion was staggering. He hadn't just been stalking Sarah. He'd been planning to steal Marcus's entire family. "It's over, Dylan. Sarah's safe, and you'll never get near either of them again." Dylan straightened his tie with shaking hands, his composure cracking. "Safe? Is that what you call lying unconscious in a hospital bed with her mind shattered?" Marcus went perfectly still. "What did you say? Oh, didn't Murphy tell you everything?" Dylan's smile returned, colder than winter. "My associate Vincent Torres was supposed to bring Sarah to me quietly, but she panicked when she saw him at that gas station. Ran right into traffic in the rain. You had her followed that night. I knew she was coming back to you. I couldn't let that happen." Dylan's mask finally fell away completely. "If I couldn't have Sarah, then neither could you." The silence in Dylan's office stretched like a tense wire about to snap. Marcus stared at his brother, processing the full horror of what he'd just heard. "Vincent Torres," Marcus said slowly. "You sent a man to intercept a woman and child. To bring them home safely," Dylan insisted, but his voice lacked conviction now. Vincent was supposed to be discreet, professional. Sarah overreacted. She was terrified. She ran into traffic because a strange man was stalking her. Dylan flinched at the word stalking, but quickly recovered. It was an accident I never wanted. Her hurt. Marcus felt something cold and deadly settle in his chest. But you left her there. You left her in that hospital with amnesia, not knowing who she was, while her daughter waited at home for a mother who would never come back. I panicked. When I heard about the accident, I thought she was going to die. Vincent said she was unconscious, bleeding. Dylan's composure finally cracked completely. I couldn't face what I'd done. So you covered it up. You let Sarah live as a Jane Doe while Lily spent 3 months alone, thinking her mother had abandoned her. I didn't know about the child, Dylan screamed. I thought Sarah was alone. I didn't know she'd left Lily with strangers. Marcus saw red. His fist connected with Dylan's jaw before he even realized he'd moved. Dylan crashed into his desk, scattering papers and sending his coffee mug shattering to the floor. You destroyed everything, Marcus snarled, standing over his brother. 4 years of terror for Sarah. 4 years of our daughter growing up without her father. And for what? Your sick fantasy? Dylan wiped blood from his split lip, looking up at Marcus with something that might have been regret, or just self-pity. I loved her. You hunted her like an animal. That's not love, that's possession. Marcus pulled out his phone, fingers flying over the screen. I'm calling the police. Vincent Torres, Blackwater Securities, harassment, stalking. They'll piece together the whole conspiracy. Marcus, wait. No more waiting. No more covering for family. Marcus hit send on a text to James Murphy with Vincent Torres's name and Blackwater Securities. You're going to confess everything or I'll destroy you myself. Your career, your reputation, your freedom, all of it. Dylan struggled to his feet, his perfect facade finally shattered. She'll never remember you anyway. The doctors said her memory might never come back. You could search forever and still be a stranger to her. Marcus paused at the office door. That's where you're wrong, Dylan. Real love doesn't need memory. It lives in the heart. Sarah will remember what matters. And if she doesn't, then I'll make new memories with her. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You don't hunt them down and terrorize them. You give them time, space, and the choice to love you back. As Marcus walked away, he heard Dylan call after him. Vincent Torres won't go down quietly. He has evidence of everything. Marcus didn't turn around. Let Torres and Dylan destroy each other. He had more important things to do. Sarah was waiting. For him at St. Mary's Hospital, and he'd already lost 4 years. He wouldn't lose another moment. At St. Mary's Hospital, Anna sat bolt upright in her bed, cold sweat beading on her forehead. The nightmare had been different this time, more vivid, more real. Dylan, she whispered to the empty room, the name tasting like poison on her tongue. Dr. Reeves found her 20 minutes later, frantically drawing at her bedside table with shaking hands. Anna, what's wrong? The nurses heard you screaming. That name, Anna gasped, not looking up from her sketch. Dylan. It came to me in the dream, and I felt terror, pure terror. She held up her drawing, a man with familiar features but cruel eyes, his hand reaching toward a small girl who was trying to hide behind a woman. He was chasing us, always chasing us. Anna's voice grew stronger as the fragments crystallized. We lived in different places, but he always found us. Hotels, apartments, shelters. Nowhere was safe. Dr. Reeves sat down carefully. Do you remember anything else about this Dylan? He looked like him. Anna pointed to her other drawings of the tall man in the business suit. Brothers, maybe? But opposite. Where this one felt safe, Dylan felt dangerous. Anna's hands moved across the paper again, sketching frantically. This time she drew a gas station at night, rain falling, a small girl sleeping in a car while a woman used a payphone. I was calling someone important. She pressed her palm against her forehead, willing the memory to surface. I was scared, but I was going home. Finally going home after so long, Home to who? To, Anna's breath caught. To make things right. I'd made a terrible mistake, kept someone from someone they loved. I was going to fix it. The drawing evolved under her fingers. The gas station became a street. The street became headlights in the rain. And suddenly Anna was sobbing. He found me. Dylan found me just when I was so close. I saw his car and I ran, but the rain was so heavy and the streets were slick. Anna, slow down. You're safe now. The little girl, Anna cried out. Where is the little girl? I left her, somewhere safe, but what if she's still waiting? What if she thinks I abandoned her? Dr. Reeves had never seen Anna this agitated. Her patient's memories were returning in a flood, bringing with them years of suppressed trauma. Tell me about the little girl, Dr. Reeves said gently. Anna wiped her tears and reached for a fresh piece of paper. As she drew, her voice grew soft and loving. Beautiful dark hair, brown eyes like chocolate. So smart she could solve puzzles that stumped adults. And brave, so much braver than she should have had to be. Anna's sketch showed a child with an angelic face but old, wise eyes. She never complained about our life, even when we had to. Leave her toys behind even when she was scared. What's her name? Anna's pencil stopped moving. I can almost hear it, L something. Lily? Yes, Lily. The name came out like a prayer. My Lily. For the first time in 4 months, Anna smiled, a real, radiant smile that transformed her entire face. She's not just the little girl, she's my daughter. And the man in my drawings. Anna looked at her countless sketches of the tall businessman. He's her father. That's who I was going to find. That's who I was bringing her home to. Dr. Reeves watched in amazement as her patient's whole demeanor changed. The frightened, broken woman was being replaced by someone stronger, a mother remembering her child. I have to find them, Anna said, struggling to get out of bed. I have to find my family. Marcus paced his office like a caged animal, waiting for James Murphy's call. Within an hour of leaving Dylan's office, he'd set in motion a chain of events that would either bring his family justice or destroy what remained of the sterling name. His phone buzzed. Murphy. I've got Vincent Torres. Murphy's voice crackled through the speaker. Boston PD picked him up an hour ago. He's already talking, trying to cut a deal. What's he saying? Everything. Your brother hired him 2 months ago when Blackwater's surveillance indicated Sarah was planning to return to Boston. Dylan wanted her intercepted and brought to him safely. Marcus felt sick. Safely. Torres says Dylan was obsessed. Claimed Sarah belonged with him, not you. The plan was to grab her at the gas station, drive her to a safe house Dylan had rented, and convince her to stay with him willingly. Kidnapping. Torres is calling it a romantic intervention. The man's delusional, but he's scared enough to give us everything. Apparently, when Sarah saw him approaching that night, she recognized him from previous encounters over the years. Marcus closed his eyes, imagining Sarah's terror in that moment. She ran. Straight into traffic in the pouring rain. Torres says, she was screaming your name when the car hit her. She knew she was close to home. The room seemed to spin around Marcus. Where's Dylan now? That's the thing. He's gone. Security footage shows him leaving Sterling Industries 30 minutes after you did, carrying 2 suitcases. His assistant says he canceled all his meetings for the rest of the week. Marcus cursed under his breath. He's running. Torres gave up Dylan's bank account information as part of his plea deal. Your brother withdrew $200,000 in cash this morning and bought a plane ticket to the Cayman Islands. Not if I can help it. Marcus was already reaching for his coat. What about Sarah? Any word from the hospital? Dr. Reeves called 10 minutes ago. Your wife is remembering everything. She's asking for you and Lily. Marcus felt his heart stop. She remembers us? Everything, Marcus. She remembers the fight 4 years ago. She remembers running. She remembers being pregnant and too scared to tell you. She also remembers deciding to come back and bring Lily home to you. Tears Marcus didn't know he'd been holding back finally spilled over. I have to get to her. There's more. Dylan made a mistake when he panicked after the accident. He used his credit card to pay a hospital administrator to keep Sarah's admission quiet. No police reports, no missing person alerts. That's felony conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Marcus was halfway to his car when Murphy's final words stopped him cold. Marcus, Torres says Dylan wasn't planning to stop with Sarah. He had surveillance photos of Lily at your house. He was planning to take them both. The phone slipped from Marcus's fingers, clattering to the parking garage floor. Dylan hadn't just been obsessed with Sarah. He'd been planning to steal Marcus's entire family and disappear. But he'd failed. Sarah was alive, Lily was safe, and Dylan Sterling would spend the rest of his life in prison for what he'd done. Marcus picked up his phone and dialed home. Mrs. Rodriguez? It's Marcus. I need you to pack a bag for Lily. We're going to see her mommy. Marcus stood outside room 314 at St. Mary's Hospital, his hand frozen on the door handle. After 4 years of believing Sarah was lost forever, after months of searching for answers, she was just on the other side of this door. Dr. Reeves approached quietly. Mr. Sterling? She's awake and asking for you. Her memory has returned almost completely, but she's fragile. The trauma of everything, the accident, the amnesia, the years of running. It's a lot to process. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. Through the small window, he could see her sitting by the window, auburn hair catching the afternoon light as she sketched in her notebook. One more thing, Dr. Reeves added gently. She's terrified that you'll hate her for keeping Lily from you. She keeps saying she ruined everything. Marcus took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Sarah looked up at the sound, and time stopped. 4 years melted away in an instant. She was thinner than he remembered, her face bearing the marks of exhaustion and fear, but her eyes, those beautiful brown eyes, were exactly as he remembered. Marcus, she whispered, and the sound of his name on her lips nearly brought him to his knees. Hello, Sarah. They stared at each other across the small hospital room, years of pain and longing hanging between them like a physical presence. I'm so sorry, Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. I kept her from you. I kept our daughter from you for 4 years because I was scared and stubborn and— Stop. Marcus moved closer, his voice gentle but firm. You kept her safe. You kept our little girl safe when I couldn't. But you didn't know about her. You didn't know you had a daughter because I never told you I was pregnant when I left. Marcus sat down carefully in the chair beside her bed. I know why you left, Sarah. I know about Dylan, about what he did to you. James Murphy found the letters. You left at the shelters. Sarah's face crumpled. He never stopped, Marcus. For 4 years he hunted us like animals. I tried to disappear completely, but he always found us. I was so scared he'd hurt Lily to get to me. He's gone now. The police arrested Vincent Torres and Dylan fled the country. He can't hurt you anymore. Sarah looked at him with wonder, as if she couldn't believe he was real. Lily, where is she? Is she okay? Please tell me she's okay. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her a video he'd taken just yesterday, Lily playing in their backyard, laughing as she chased butterflies. She's beautiful, Sarah sobbed, pressing the phone to her chest. She got so big. I missed so much. She's been asking about you every day. She never stopped believing you'd come back. Sarah looked up at him through her tears. Does she hate me for leaving her? She loves you, Sarah. She's been waiting for you to come home. For the first time in 4 years, Sarah smiled, a real, genuine smile that lit up her entire face. Can I see her? Can I hold my little girl? Marcus was already reaching for his phone. Mrs. Rodriguez is bringing her here right now, as if summoned. By magic, there was a soft knock on the door. Mrs. Rodriguez appeared with Lily's small hand in hers. Mommy? Lily's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah's arms opened wide, and Lily ran to her, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. My baby, Sarah whispered, holding Lily tight. Mommy's home. Mommy's never leaving again. The hospital room fell silent except for the soft sounds of mother and daughter reuniting. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching Sarah hold Lily like she might disappear again, and felt something break open in his chest. 4 years of grief, anger, and regret flowing out like water from a dam. "Mommy, you're really here," Lily whispered against Sarah's shoulder. "I waited for you. Daddy said you'd come back." Sarah's eyes found Marcus over their daughter's head, and the look that passed between them held everything they couldn't yet say aloud. "Thank you," Sarah mouthed silently. "Thank you for taking care of her." Mrs. Rodriguez quietly excused herself, sensing the family needed privacy. Lily pulled back to study her mother's face with the intensity only children possess. "You look different, Mommy, sadder." Sarah's laugh was thick with tears. "I am different, sweetheart. But seeing you makes me feel like myself again. Daddy took really good care of me. He learned to braid my hair and everything. And we have a big house with a swing set." Lily's enthusiasm was infectious. "Can you come home with us now?" The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility and uncertainty. Sarah looked at Marcus, her eyes asking a dozen questions she didn't know how to voice. "Lily," Marcus said gently, "why don't you show Mommy some of the drawings you made? For her?" As Lily excitedly pulled out her artwork from Mrs. Rodriguez's bag, Marcus moved closer to Sarah's bed. Up close, he could see the thin scar along her hairline from the accident, the way her hands shook slightly when she thought no one was looking. "Sarah," he said quietly, "I need you to know something. What happened between us 4 years ago?" "You don't have to say anything," she interrupted. "I know you probably can't forgive me for keeping Lily from you. I know I have no right to expect—" "I forgive you." The words stopped her mid-sentence. She stared at him as if he'd spoken a foreign language. "I forgive you," Marcus repeated, his voice stronger now. "For not telling me about the pregnancy, for running, for staying away. I understand why you did it. But I cost you 4 years with your daughter. And I cost you 4 years of safety and peace. The fight we had that night, the things I said, they were unforgivable. I drove you away when you needed me most." Sarah shook her head. "You were hurt. I blindsided you with accusations and ultimatums instead of talking to you like a partner should." "Look, Mommy," Lily interrupted, holding up a drawing of their family. Marcus, Sarah, and herself holding hands in front of a house. "I drew this for when you came home." Sarah took the drawing with trembling fingers. "It's perfect, baby girl." But Marcus noticed what Lily had drawn them standing in front of wasn't his Beacon Hill mansion. It was a simple house with a white picket fence and a garden full of flowers. "Is that where you want to live, Lily?" Sarah asked. "Somewhere normal," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Where we don't have to look over our shoulders anymore." Marcus felt something shift inside him. The mansion, the corporate world, the relentless pursuit of success, none of it mattered anymore. What mattered was this, his family together and safe. "Then that's exactly what we'll do," he said. 3 days later, Sarah was cleared for discharge. Marcus stood in the hospital lobby, holding Lily's hand as they waited for the elevator that would bring Sarah down to them. The past 72 hours had been a whirlwind of police interviews, legal consultations, and careful family moments under the watchful eyes of hospital staff. "Is Mommy really coming home with us today?" Lily asked for the 10th time, her excitement barely contained. "She really is, sweetheart." The elevator doors opened and Sarah emerged with Dr. Reeves carrying a small bag of her belongings. She looked fragile in civilian clothes, jeans and a sweater Marcus had brought from her old wardrobe that he'd never been able to throw away. Lily rushed to her mother, and Sarah knelt to embrace her, wincing slightly from her still healing injuries. "Easy, baby girl," Sarah laughed softly. "Mommy's still a little sore." "I'll be gentle," Lily promised, taking her mother's hand with exaggerated care. As they walked toward the hospital exit, Dr. Reeves pulled Marcus aside. "She's going to need time," the doctor said quietly. 4 years of trauma doesn't heal overnight. She'll have nightmares, anxiety attacks, moments where she'll retreat into herself. Marcus nodded, watching Sarah and Lily walk ahead of them, already deep in conversation about everything Lily wanted to show her mother at home. "What should I watch for?" "Hypervigilance, mostly. She'll check locks multiple times. look over her shoulder constantly, have trouble sleeping. It's normal for someone who's lived in fear for so long. Dr. Reeves handed him a business card. I've arranged for her to see Dr. Martinez, a trauma specialist. And Marcus, she's going to need you to be patient when she pushes you away. Pushes me away. She told me she's terrified of being a burden, of disrupting the life you've built with Lily. She's convinced you're only taking her back out of obligation. Marcus felt his heart clench. That's not true. I know that. But she doesn't. Yet. Outside, Sarah stopped at the hospital entrance, staring at the busy street with obvious anxiety. Her breathing quickened and her grip on Lily's hand tightened. Sarah? Marcus moved to her side. What's wrong? All these people, she whispered. All these cars. What if Dylan sent someone? What if they're watching? Dylan's in the Cayman Islands. The FBI is tracking him. But what if... Mommy, Lily interrupted, tugging on Sarah's sleeve. Look at me. Sarah looked down at her daughter, who was holding up her small hand with fingers spread wide. Count with me, Lily said seriously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now breathe with me. Marcus watched in amazement as Lily guided her mother through a breathing exercise, their hands pressed together palm to palm. Where did you learn that? Sarah asked, her panic visibly subsiding. Daddy taught me. He said sometimes when we're scared, we need to remember to breathe. Sarah looked at Marcus with wonder. You've been teaching her coping mechanisms? She had nightmares too, Marcus said simply. About losing you. We learned together. In that moment, Sarah realized something profound. Marcus hadn't just been caring for Lily, he'd been healing alongside her. They'd been a family even in her absence. I love you, Sarah said suddenly, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Marcus felt the world tilt. Sarah, I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day. Marcus stood frozen on the hospital steps, Sarah's words echoing in his mind. I never stopped loving you. Around them, the world continued, cars honking, people rushing past, but for Marcus, everything had stopped. Sarah, he said finally, his voice thick with emotion. I know I have no right to say that, she continued quickly, looking down at their joined hands where Lily still held them both. I know 4 years is a lifetime and you've probably moved on. And I'm broken now in ways I wasn't before. Stop. Marcus gently lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. I never moved on, I never even tried. Lily looked between her parents with the wisdom only children possess. Are you going to kiss now? In the movies, this is when they kiss. Despite everything, Sarah laughed. A real, joyful sound that Marcus hadn't heard in years. Maybe we should get home first, baby girl. The drive to Marcus's house was quiet, but it was a comfortable quiet. Sarah sat in the passenger seat, her hand resting on Lily's in the back. Both of them seeming to need the constant physical connection to believe this was real. When they pulled into the driveway, Sarah stared at the mansion with obvious discomfort. It's beautiful, she said carefully. It's too big, Marcus replied, understanding immediately. Too exposed, too much like a fortress. I don't want to live in a fortress anymore. Then we won't. Marcus turned to face her fully. Lily drew us a house, remember? With a garden and a white picket fence. Somewhere normal. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. You'd give up all this. Sarah, I'd give up everything for you and Lily. I thought I'd lost both of you forever. This house, the company, none of it means anything without family. That evening, they sat together on the living room floor. The same room that had felt so cold and empty months ago, now warm with Lily's laughter, as she showed Sarah every toy, every drawing, every memory they'd created together. I'm sorry I missed so much, Sarah whispered, as Lily finally fell asleep between them on the couch. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to run, Marcus replied. They talked until dawn, about the fight 4 years ago, about Dylan's persecution, about the fear that had defined Sarah's life and the regret that had defined Marcus's. They talked about Lily's first steps, first words, first day of school, all the moments they'd lost and could never get back. I want to try again, Sarah said as the sun rose over Boston. I want us to be a family. But I'm scared, Marcus. I'm not the same person who left 4 years ago. Neither am I, Marcus replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We're both different now. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Sarah leaned into his touch. I might have panic attacks. I might wake up screaming from nightmares. I might check the locks 10 times before bed. Then I'll hold you through the panic attacks, wake you gently from the nightmares, and check the locks with you. Promise? Promise. 6 months later, the sound of Lily's laughter echoed through the backyard of their new home in Brookline. A modest 2-story house with blue shutters, a wraparound porch, and the white picket fence from her drawing. Sarah sat on the porch, watching their daughter chase butterflies through the vegetable garden they'd planted together. Mommy, look, Lily called out, holding up a perfectly ripe tomato. Our first harvest. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Sarah called back. Then, turned to Marcus as he joined her on the swing with 2 cups of coffee. She's so happy here. Marcus settled beside her, his arm naturally finding its place around her shoulders. We all are. The past 6 months had been a journey of healing, legal proceedings, and rebuilding. Dylan was serving 8 years in federal prison for kidnapping, stalking, and conspiracy. Vincent Torres had been convicted of assault and received 5 years. The FBI had frozen Dylan's assets, using them to compensate Sarah for years of trauma and lost income. But more importantly, they'd become a family again. Sarah still had difficult days, mornings when she'd wake in a panic, convinced she was back, in a motel room running from shadows. But Marcus was always there, patient and steady, reminding her she was safe. And gradually, the nightmares came less frequently. Dr. Martinez thinks I'm ready to start working again, Sarah said, leaning into Marcus's warmth. Maybe something with children, art therapy, or counseling. Whatever makes you happy, Marcus replied, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Though I have a confession to make. Sarah looked up at him with mock suspicion. What kind of confession? I've been thinking about selling my stake in Sterling Industries. Starting something smaller, something that lets me be home for dinner every night. Marcus Sterling giving up corporate power? Who are you and what have you done with my workaholic husband? The word husband hung in the air between them. They hadn't remarried, not officially, but somewhere in the daily rhythm of shared mornings and bedtime stories they'd become partners again. About that, Marcus said, reaching into his pocket. I know we're taking things slow, but I have something that belongs to you. He pulled out a small velvet box, and Sarah's breath caught. Inside was her original engagement ring, the simple, solitaire he'd given her 7 years ago. I never could bring myself to get rid of it, he admitted. It's been sitting in my desk drawer, waiting for you to come home. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she held out her hand. The ring slipped on as if it had never been away. Is this your way of proposing again, Mr. Sterling? Actually, Marcus said, dropping to one knee beside the porch swing. This is. Lily's delighted squeal from the garden told them she'd been watching the entire time. Sarah Chen, Marcus said formally, will you marry me again? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making up for the years we lost? Yes, Sarah whispered, pulling him up for a kiss. Yes to all of it. Later that evening, as they tucked Lily into her new bedroom, she pulled out something from under her pillow, the old, crumpled photograph of Sarah that she'd carried for so long. I don't need this anymore, she announced, handing it to Marcus. We have real pictures now. She pointed to the wall where their new family photo hung, all 3 of them laughing in their garden, Lily's arms around both parents, everyone's faces glowing with genuine happiness. Marcus looked at the 2 photographs. One, weathered and worn from a little girl's desperate love, the other bright and new with promise. You know what, Lily? He said softly. I think we should keep both. The old one shows how much you loved Mommy even when she was lost. The new one shows how much we all love each other now that we're found. As they turned off the lights and headed downstairs, Sarah took Marcus's hand. We were a family that got lost, she said quietly. And now we're a family that's been found, Marcus replied. Outside, the evening breeze rustled through their garden, where tomorrow would bring new growth, new possibilities, and new memories to replace the ones they'd lost. They'd discovered that sometimes the most precious things in life aren't found in boardrooms or bank accounts. They're found in second chances, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bonds that tie a family together.